So let's look at attribute selectors. So I'm going to copy paste this. I'm going to make it 8. Call it attribute selector. I'm going to delete all the ones that we don't need it. So I'm going to delete all these things. Now delete all the tags. Right, and we'll call it as attribute selector. Okay, and how do you define an attribute selector? You have a selector. So inside the selector you can mention the class name and you can mention inside the square brackets, and this is basically you're defining the attribute of an HTML. You're checking whether if this attribute is available inside the HTML tag, then apply this rule. Okay, I'll give you a class an example for this. I'll say if the p tag has class, means if you have defined a class attribute for any of the p tags, any value, but attribute is present, then apply this rule. Okay, then make color as red. Okay, and font weight as bold. Okay, and it's simple to understand. If you have a p tag, this is a paragraph. Okay, the rule will not be applied, but when you have a paragraph, we'll just make it and say class, it has an attribute of class, then the rule is applied. Okay, it's easy to see. The rule is only applied when you have an attribute as class. Doesn't care what value it is, but if you just have the attribute, then this rule will be applied. That's nothing but the attribute selector. You can even go a little complex than this. You can mention color, you can mention class. If the attribute is, say the attribute name is color blue. Okay, then the color is blue, and then you mention this. Right, now let's have an HR tag. Okay, if you just have the class, then the red will be applied, but if you have this color blue as the value, doesn't require to define it, but it's just taking that attribute. If the class has this value, then you see the blue is applied, which is nothing but this rule is applied. But if you don't have any value, means you have the class tag, but if you have like something else, then nothing but this rule is applied. Okay, so this attribute selector is really checking the attributes of an HTML tag. So one condition we said, right, if you have a class attribute, apply this rule. If the class attribute has this value, then apply this rule. That's nothing but this one. Alright, so let's look at some more selectors.